The hospital ship UHMS Serenity moved slowly through space, like a white star against the darkness. Captain Han Sol watched the view screen from his command chair, seeing the wounded colony ship ahead. The ship was badly damaged, with large holes in its hull, and no power in most sections. "How many survivors?" Han Sol asked his medical officer. Dr. Ji-hai looked at her tablet. "About 300 people. Many are badly hurt. Some are children." Han Sol nodded. "Take us closer. Signal all medical teams to prepare for mass casualties." The Serenity was humanity's most advanced medical ship. It could treat any species in the galaxy. The ship had the best doctors, the newest medical equipment, and healing technology that amazed even older alien races. For 3 years, it had traveled through war zones, helping anyone who needed care. The war between the Vorthak Empire and the rebel colonies had been going on for 8 years. The Vorthak were a cruel race who believed strength was the only thing that mattered. They conquered planets, enslaved weak species, and showed no mercy to anyone who opposed them. The rebels fought back, but they were losing badly. In the middle of this terrible war, the Serenity was a symbol of hope. The ship's crew treated wounded soldiers from both sides. They saved Vorthak warriors and rebel fighters in the same medical bay. They followed the Galactic Medical Accords, which said that medical ships were neutral and could not be attacked. Tai Min, the ship's chief engineer, was only 25 years old, but already famous for his brilliant mind. He had designed many of the ship's systems himself. The medical scanners, the healing chambers, the life support systems, all bore his creative touch. He made machines that could heal instead of harm. "Tai Min to bridge," came his voice over the communication system. "All medical bays are ready. I've increased power to the healing units." "Good work," Han Sol replied. He trusted the young engineer completely. The Serenity moved carefully toward the damaged colony ship. In the medical bays, Dr. Ji-hai and her team prepared for the worst. Nurse Do-yun checked the emergency supplies one more time. Dr. Hyejin, the ship's counselor, got ready to help traumatized survivors. As they got closer, Han Sol could see the damage more clearly. The colony ship had been hit by Vorthak plasma cannons. Whole sections were gone. How anyone had survived was a miracle. "Captain," said his communications officer, "we're getting a signal from the colony ship. They say Vorthak ships attacked them 6 hours ago. The attackers left, but they might come back." Han Sol felt worried but did not show it. "We'll work fast. Begin rescue operations." For the next 4 hours, the medical teams worked without stopping. They brought wounded people aboard the Serenity using shuttlecraft. The medical bays filled with patients of all ages. Dr. Ji-hai moved from bed to bed, using her skills to save lives. Her hands were gentle as she treated a wounded child, speaking soft words in the universal language. Tai Min worked in engineering, making sure all systems ran perfectly. The power grid was pushed to its limits, but his designs held strong. He watched the medical bay monitors, seeing his technology save life after life. This was why he became an engineer, to help people. Nurse Do-yun worked in the trauma center, where the most badly hurt patients came. He had seen terrible things in this war, but he never stopped caring. Every life saved was a victory against the darkness. Dr. Hyejin helped the survivors deal with their fear and sadness. Many had lost family members in the attack. Some children had watched their parents die. She held their hands and promised they were safe now. By the 8th hour, most of the survivors were stable. The medical team had worked a miracle. Captain Han Sol felt proud of his crew. They had saved almost 300 lives. Then the warning sirens began to sound. "Captain," called his sensor officer, "3 ships coming fast. They're Vorthak destroyers." Han Sol's blood turned cold. "Signal them immediately. Tell them we are a medical ship. We are neutral." The Vorthak ships came closer. They were dark, angular vessels designed for war. Their weapons were already charging. "Sir," said the communications officer, "they're not responding to our signals." Han Sol stood up. "Keep transmitting. Emergency medical frequency. Make sure they know we're a hospital ship." On the view screen, the lead Vorthak destroyer moved into attack position. Han Sol could see the weapon ports glowing with deadly energy. "All medical teams, he announced over the ship's communication system. "Prepare for emergency evacuation." But there was no time. The first plasma bolt hit the ship's forward medical bay. The explosion was massive. Alarms screamed as the ship shook violently. Dr. Ji-Hai was thrown against a wall as the lights went out. "Emergency power!" Han Sol shouted. The second blast hit the main medical center. Du Yun was helping a wounded child when the plasma bolt tore through the hull. The explosion vaporized everything in that section. The brave nurse died instantly, still trying to save others. Tae-min was in engineering when the third blast hit. The ship's power core began to fail. He worked frantically to keep the life support systems running, but damage reports flooded his screens. The ship was dying. In Medical Bay 3, Dr. Ji-Hai shielded 3 wounded children with her own body. As debris fell from the ceiling, a piece of metal struck her head, but she kept protecting the children until her last breath. Captain Han Sol managed to send out one final message before the bridge exploded around him. "This is the UHMS Serenity. We are a medical ship. We were treating wounded civilians. Why are you doing this?" The only answer was more weapons fire. Tae-min made it to an escape pod as the ship began to break apart. Through the small window, he watched the Serenity explode in a ball of white fire. All his friends were gone. All those patients they had saved were dead. The ship that had been a symbol of hope was now scattered debris. The Vorthak destroyers fired on the escape pods. Most were destroyed. Only one small pod, damaged and barely working, drifted away into space. Inside, Tae-min floated unconscious, his body broken, but his brilliant mind intact. He was the only survivor of the massacre. The young engineer who had built machines to heal would wake up in a very different galaxy. The war had taken everything from him. Now it would learn what humanity was truly capable of when their mercy was repaid with murder. The stars watched in silence as one small pod drifted through the darkness, carrying the seeds of an empire's destruction. 6 months later, Tae-min sat alone in his small apartment on Research Station, New Busan. His left arm was still weak from the injuries he had suffered in the escape pod. His leg would always have a slight limp, but his mind, his brilliant, creative mind, that was damaged in ways no doctor could heal. The young man who had once smiled while building healing machines now stared at empty walls for hours. He rarely spoke to anyone. He ate only when he remembered to. The station's medical staff had cleared him for duty, but Admiral Kyung-ho had given him unlimited leave. Dr. Sun-mi knocked on his door every week. She was a kind therapist who wanted to help him deal with his pain. Today, like every other day, Tae-min let her in but said very little. "How are you feeling?" she asked, sitting across from him. "Fine," Tae-min replied, the same answer he always gave. "Have you been working on anything? Some research projects? Nothing important?" Dr. Sun-mi knew he was lying. The station's computers showed that Tae-min was using massive amounts of processing power. He was working on something big, but he would not tell anyone what it was. "Tae-min, it's normal to feel angry about what happened. Your friends died, innocent people died, but you survived for a reason." Tae-min looked at her with empty eyes. "Why did they attack us? We were helping people. We saved lives." The Vorthak don't think like we do. They see kindness as weakness. "Then maybe they're right," Tae-min said quietly. "Maybe being kind is being weak." Dr. Sun-mi felt worried. This was not the first time he had said something like this. The gentle engineer was changing into someone else, someone darker. After she left, Tae-min returned to his work. His apartment was filled with computer screens showing complex designs. He was studying Vorthak technology, their biology, their culture, their history, everything about them. The official report said the attack on the Serenity was ordered by War Prime Grakthon himself. The Vorthak leader had wanted to send a message to the galaxy. Human weakness would not be tolerated. The medical ship was chosen because it represented everything the Vorthak hated about humanity. Commander Boram had given Tae-min these classified reports. She was an intelligence officer who had known Captain Han Sol personally. She wanted Tae-min to understand that the attack was not random. It was planned murder. They killed 300 patients and 47 crew members to make a point, she had told him. They wanted to show the galaxy that our compassion makes us weak. Now Taemin understood. The Vorthak had not attacked the Serenity in the heat of battle. They had hunted it down specifically because it was a medical ship. They had wanted to kill healers and patients to prove their strength. Professor Wu Jin, Taemin's old teacher, came to visit him once a month. The elderly scientist had trained Taemin at the academy. He had watched his student grow from a curious boy into a brilliant engineer. Now he was worried about what Taemin was becoming. "You're working too hard," Professor Wu Jin said during his latest visit. "You need to rest. You need to heal." "I am healing," Taemin replied. "I'm learning." "What are you learning?" Taemin turned to face his old teacher. His eyes had a strange light in them. "I'm learning that the universe has rules, action and reaction, cause and effect. The Vorthak caused something. Now, they will face the reaction." Professor Wu Jin felt a chill. "What are you planning?" "I'm planning to follow their logic. They said kindness is weakness. Let's see how they handle strength." That night, Admiral Kyung-ho came to see Tae-min. The admiral was a hard man who had fought in many wars. He had lost his own daughter in the attack on the Serenity. She had been a medical student, training to save lives just like Dr. Ji-hai. "I have a proposition for you," the admiral said. "Unlimited resources, complete freedom, no questions asked." "In exchange for what?" "Anything that can end this war. The Vorthak are planning to attack more medical ships. They want to break the spirit of anyone who opposes them. I want to break them first." Taemin studied the older man's face. "You want revenge. I want justice. My daughter died trying to save wounded children. Dr. Ji-hai died protecting patients. They died because they chose to heal instead of harm. The Vorthak must pay for that. What if the price is very high?" Admiral Kyung-ho's voice was cold. "After what they did to the Serenity, no price is too high." Taemin agreed to the deal. Within a week, he was moved to a secret research facility. The official story was that he was working on advanced defense systems. Only Admiral Kyung-ho knew the truth. Taemin began building a team. Dr. Yoon Soo was a quantum physicist who thought she was helping develop faster communication technology. Lieutenant Jae Sung was a military liaison who believed they were creating new weapons for ships. Scientist Yeon Ho studied biological systems, thinking his work would lead to better medical scanners. None of them knew what Taemin was really building. In his private laboratory, Taemin worked alone. The walls were covered with diagrams of Vorthak biology and technology. The Vorthak Empire was built on biomechanical integration. Their ships, their cities, even their bodies combined living tissue with machines. This connection made them stronger, but it also made them vulnerable. Tae-min had discovered that all Vorthak biomechanical systems responded to specific quantum frequencies. It was like a master key that opened every lock in their empire. If he could create the right signal, he could affect every Vorthak system at once. The weapon he was designing was not a bomb or a missile. It was a signal, a quantum cascade that would resonate through every biomechanical system in the Vorthak Empire. The effect would be instantaneous and complete. Dr. Sunmi continued to visit him, though now she had to travel to the secret facility. She could see that he was getting worse. The gentle young man was disappearing, replaced by someone consumed with cold purpose. "Taemin, what are you working on here?" "I'm solving a problem," he replied. "The Vorthak think kindness is weakness. I'm going to show them what human strength really looks like. This isn't you. The Taemin I knew wanted to build things that helped people. That Taemin died with the Serenity. The Vorthak killed him along with everyone else." Dr. Sunmi felt tears in her eyes. She was losing him to his anger and pain. "Your friends would not want this. Dr. Ji-hee, Captain Han Sol, Nurse Do-yoon, they would not want you to become like the people who killed them." Taemin turned away from her. "My friends are dead. Their opinions don't matter anymore." As the months passed, Taemin's weapon took shape. The quantum cascade generator was beautiful in its terrible simplicity. One signal, broadcast across subspace, would reach every corner of the Vorthak Empire instantly. Their biomechanical systems would fail catastrophically. Their ships would die. Their cities would collapse. They would die. All of them, the young. Engineer who had once saved lives was now planning to end billions of them. The Vorthak had taught him that kindness was weakness. Soon they would learn what happened when humanity chose strength instead. 2 years had passed since the destruction of the UHMS Serenity. Taemin stood in his laboratory, watching the final tests of his quantum cascade generator. The machine was smaller than most people would expect, just a cube of metal and crystal no bigger than a desk. Inside this simple box was the power to destroy an entire empire. Dr. Yun-Soo worked at her station nearby, making final adjustments to the quantum resonance field. She believed they were building the most advanced communication system ever created. The young physicist was excited about the breakthrough they were about to achieve. "The field is stable," she reported. "We should be able to transmit across the entire galaxy instantly." "Perfect," Taemin replied. He did not tell her that the message they would send would be death itself. Lieutenant Jae-sung reviewed the security protocols for the test. The military officer had been working with Taemin for over a year, but lately he had been asking more questions. Some things about the project did not make sense to him. "Taemin, why do we need biological samples from so many different species?" he asked. "I thought this was a communication system." "We need to make sure the signal works with all types of neural systems," Taemin lied smoothly. "Different species might process information differently." The truth was much darker. Taemin had spent months studying Vorthak biology. He had samples of their tissue, their blood, their biomechanical implants. He knew exactly how their bodies worked, how their machines integrated with living cells, how their entire civilization depended on the connection between flesh and metal. Scientist Yanho was analyzing the latest biological data when something strange caught his attention. The frequency patterns Taemin wanted to use were not random. They matched specific Vorthak biomarkers. Why would a communication system need to target one species so precisely? Engineer Soo Jin was working on the power distribution system when she made a troubling discovery. The energy requirements for Taemin's device were enormous, far more than any communication system would need. This machine was designed to broadcast with enough power to affect matter at the cellular level. The team was starting to suspect that their project was not what they had been told. Dr. Sunmi arrived for her weekly session with Taemin. She had been watching him change over the past 2 years. The broken young man was now cold and focused. He spoke of revenge as if it were a mathematical equation to be solved. "You look tired," she said as they sat in his office. "I've been working hard. We're almost finished." "Finished with what? Your team won't tell me anything about the project." Taemin smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "We're building something that will end the war." "How?" "By removing one side of the equation." Dr. Sunmi felt afraid. "What does that mean?" "The Vorthak Empire will cease to exist. Then there will be peace." "Taemin, you're talking about genocide. I'm talking about justice. They killed innocent people. They attacked a hospital ship. They murdered healers and patients. They wanted to show the galaxy that kindness is weakness. I'm going to show them what strength really looks like." Dr. Sunmi stood up quickly. "This is wrong. This isn't who you are. This is exactly who I am. I'm the person they created when they killed my friends." That night, Dr. Sunmi met secretly with Lieutenant Jae-sung. She told him about her conversation with Taemin. The military officer had already suspected something terrible, and now he knew his fears were correct. "We have to stop him," Dr. Sunmi said. "How?" "He has Admiral Kyung-ho's complete support. The Admiral lost his daughter on the Serenity. He wants revenge as much as Taemin does." "Then we go higher. We contact the Galactic Council." "With what proof?" "Officially, we're building a communication system. Taemin has been very careful. All the documentation looks legitimate." They were trapped. They knew Taemin was planning something horrible, but they could not prove it. The next morning, Taemin called his team together for the final briefing. The quantum cascade generator was complete. All the tests had been successful. It was time to activate the device. "Today we make history," Taemin told them. "Our communication system will connect every corner of the galaxy." Dr. Yun-Soo was excited. "The quantum field will propagate through subspace at incredible speed. We'll be able to send messages anywhere instantly." "What message will we send first?" asked Engineer Soo Jin. Taemin's eyes were cold. "A message of justice." As the team made final preparations, Lieutenant Jae-sung tried one last time to stop the project. He pulled Taemin aside and spoke quietly. I know what you're really building. This isn't a communication system. It's a weapon. You're right, Taemin replied calmly. It's the most powerful weapon ever created. You can't do this. Billions of people will die. Billions of people have already died because of the Vorthak Empire. They started this war. They attacked our medical ships. They chose to be monsters. I'm simply finishing what they began. What about innocent Vorthak? Children? Civilians who never hurt anyone? Taemin's face showed no emotion. They showed no mercy to our children. They killed patients in their hospital beds. They murdered doctors and nurses. Why should I show them mercy they would never give us? Lieutenant Jae-sung realized he could not reason with Taemin. The young engineer had been consumed by his need for revenge. I won't let you do this. You can't stop me. The device is already armed. Admiral Kyung-ho has given me full authority. Even if you try to interfere, I'll activate it anyway. Scientist Yeon-ho overheard part of their conversation. He finally understood what they had been building. The biological samples, the frequency patterns, the enormous power requirements. They had created a weapon that would target the Vorthak. Species specifically, Dr. Yoon-soo was the last to realize the truth. When she saw the final targeting parameters, she understood that her quantum field would not carry messages. It would carry death. We have to destroy it, she whispered to the others. But it was too late. Taemin activated the security lockdown. The laboratory was sealed. Armed guards took positions outside. Admiral Kyung-ho himself arrived to witness the activation. Are you ready? The Admiral asked. Taemin stood before the quantum cascade generator. 2 years of work had led to this moment, the device that would avenge the UHMS Serenity, the weapon that would make the Vorthak pay for their cruelty. I'm ready, he replied. His team watched in horror as he began the activation sequence. Dr. Sunmi tried to reach him one last time. Please, Taemin, this isn't justice. This is murder on an unimaginable scale. Your friends would not want this. Taemin paused for just a moment. He thought of Dr. Ji-hai's gentle hands healing wounded children. He thought of Nurse Do-yoon's kind smile as he comforted frightened patients. He thought of Captain Han Sol's steady voice maintaining hope in the darkest times. Then he thought of them dying. He thought of the Serenity exploding. He thought of War Prime Grakthon laughing as he ordered the attack on a medical ship. My friends are dead because they believed in mercy, Taemin said. The galaxy will be safer without the Vorthak Empire. He pressed the final button. The quantum cascade generator hummed to life. The signal began to propagate through subspace, racing toward every corner of the Vorthak Empire at faster-than-light speed. In seconds, it would reach their home world. In minutes, it would touch every Vorthak colony, every ship, every outpost. The mathematics of revenge were perfect and terrible. Soon the Vorthak would learn the true meaning of human strength. The quantum cascade signal spread through subspace like fire through dry grass. It moved faster than light, faster than thought, carrying Taemin's revenge to every corner of the Vorthak Empire. On the bridge of the Vorthak command ship, Death's Victory War Prime Grakthon felt the first effects as the signal reached his biomechanical implants. The pain began as a burning sensation in his cybernetic spine. Within seconds, it became agony as his body's integration system started to fail. Every piece of Vorthak technology that touched living tissue began to turn toxic. What is happening? Grakthon screamed as sparks flew from his command throne. Around him. His officers were falling to the deck, clutching their heads as their neural implants overloaded. The ship's biomechanical systems, the living computers that controlled everything, began dying all at once. On Vorthak Prime, the Empire's home world, the cascade signal hit like an invisible tsunami. The great biocities grown from living, metal and flesh, started to collapse as their organic components failed. Buildings that had stood for thousands of years crumbled as their biological foundations rotted away. In the medical centers, Vorthak doctors watched in horror as their patients' implants turned poisonous. The technology that kept millions alive became the instrument of their death. Life support systems failed. Cybernetic hearts stopped beating. Neural enhancers fried the brains they were meant to improve. The Vorthak military tried to respond, but their ships were dying around them. The biohulls that made their vessels strong began to decay. Navigation systems failed as living computers succumbed to the cascade effect. Weapons powered by organic energy cells went dark. War Prime Grakthon connected to the Empire's central network through dozens of biomechanical links, experienced the full force of Tae-Min's weapon. His body convulsed as every implant in his system turned against him. In his final moments of consciousness, he realized what was happening. "Humans," he whispered with his dying breath. "Impossible." The cascade signal reached every Vorthak colony in the first hour. On mining worlds, the great extractors, machines merged with living tissue, shut down forever. On agricultural planets, the biofarms that fed the Empire withered and died. On military outposts, soldiers fell as their enhanced bodies rejected their cybernetic parts. Back on New Busan Research Station, Tae-Min watched the reports come in through intercepted communications. His team stood behind him in shocked silence as they realized what they had helped create. "The Vorthak homeworld has gone dark," reported Lieutenant Jae-sung, his voice hollow. "No communications, no ship movements." Dr. Yoon-soo stared at the quantum field readings. "The signal has reached their entire territory. Every system is affected." Engineer Soo-jin was crying. "How many people are we killing?" 12 billion, Tae-Min answered without emotion. "The exact population of the Vorthak Empire." Admiral Kyung-ho watched the tactical displays with satisfaction. "It's working perfectly. The Vorthak fleet is completely disabled. Their colonies are defenseless." Ambassador In-ho, humanity's senior diplomat, arrived at the station within hours. The galactic community was in chaos as news of the Vorthak collapse spread. No one understood what was happening, but they all knew humanity was somehow responsible. "What have you done?" In-ho demanded when he saw Tae-Min. "I ended a war," Tae-Min replied. "You ended a species. Do you understand what this means for humanity? The entire galaxy will turn against us. Let them try. They'll learn the same lesson the Vorthak just learned." The cascade effect continued for 3 days. On every Vorthak world, the biomechanical systems that held their civilization together failed catastrophically. Cities collapsed. Ships drifted dead in space. Millions of Vorthak died as their own technology became poison in their bodies. The few survivors were those with minimal cybernetic enhancement, mostly children, and the very poor who could not afford biomechanical upgrades. They wandered through the ruins of their empire, not understanding why their world had suddenly ended. On the 4th day, the galactic news networks began broadcasting the truth. Humanity had created a weapon that could destroy an entire species. The attack on the medical ship UHMS Serenity had been avenged, but the price was genocide. Admiral So-young, commander of the Human Defense Fleet, found herself dealing with a crisis beyond imagination. Half the galaxy's species were demanding that humanity be expelled from the Galactic Council. The other half were too terrified to speak. "We have a fleet of Zentoran ships approaching our border," she reported to Admiral Kyung-ho. "They're demanding we surrender the weapon." "Tell them to back off, or they'll join the Vorthak," Kyung-ho replied coldly. Refugee camp director Min-ho was struggling to help the few Vorthak survivors who had been found drifting in escape pods. Most were dying from the cascade effect. Their minimal implants were still killing them slowly. The lucky ones died quickly. "Please," one young Vorthak female whispered to Min-ho through the medical translator. "Why did you do this? My children, they were only babies." Min-ho had no answer. What could he say? That they had attacked a medical ship? That they had started the war? None of it justified the complete destruction of their species. Galactic Council Representative Hai Wan called an emergency session. The great chamber on Neutral Station was filled with representatives from dozens of species, all demanding answers from humanity. "The humans have shown they can destroy any of us," declared the Catherian ambassador. "We cannot allow them to remain in the council." "They committed genocide," added the Zolonian representative. 12 billion sentient beings are dead. Ambassador In-ho stood to defend his species, but what defense could he give? "The Vorthak attacked our medical ship. They killed innocent people." "So you killed all of them?" The Altarian ambassador's voice was full of disgust. You murdered an entire species for revenge? Dr. Sunmi tried one final time to reach Tai Min. She found him in his laboratory, staring at the quantum cascade generator. The device sat silent now, its terrible work complete. Are you satisfied? She asked. Is your revenge complete? Tai Min was quiet for a long moment. They're all dead. Yes, men, women, children, billions of them. Good. No, it's not good. You've become the very monster you claimed to be fighting against. Tai Min turned to face her. For the first time in months, she saw emotion in his eyes, but it was not regret. It was emptiness. I feel nothing, he said. I thought killing them would bring back my friends. I thought it would make the pain stop. But they're still dead, and I'm still alone. You did this for nothing? I did this because the galaxy needed to learn a lesson. The Vorthak thought kindness was weakness. Now everyone knows what human strength looks like. The galactic community struggled to understand what humanity had become. In one terrible moment, they had gone from healers to genocidal killers. The species that ran medical ships through war zones had also created the most devastating weapon ever seen. Fear replaced respect in the galaxy's attitude toward humans. Trade agreements were canceled. Diplomatic missions were recalled. Humanity found itself isolated, powerful, but alone. In the ruins of the Vorthak Empire, the few survivors tried to rebuild. But without their biomechanical technology, they were helpless. Their knowledge was gone. Their culture was broken. They were a dying people, fading away like ghosts. War Prime Grakthon's final message was found in the wreckage of his command ship. It was a single word, transmitted to every corner of the galaxy. Beware! The Vorthak Empire had learned too late that humanity's greatest virtue, their compassion, when twisted by grief and rage, became their most terrible weapon. They had attacked a hospital ship to show their strength. Now they were extinct. Tai Min's revenge was complete. The mathematics of his hatred had been solved with perfect precision, but in destroying his enemies, he had also destroyed something precious, the galaxy's faith in human goodness. The fire he had lit would burn for generations, and humanity would never be trusted again. 6 months after the cascade, the galaxy had not forgotten. Humanity sat alone at the galactic table, powerful but feared by everyone. Trade routes avoided human space. Diplomatic channels remained closed. Even species that had suffered under Vorthak rule looked at humanity with suspicion and terror. Tai Min sat in a holding cell on Justice Station, waiting for his trial. The Galactic Tribunal had taken months to decide how to judge genocide. Some species wanted him executed immediately. Others argued that human law should apply. A few suggested that what he did was justified, even if the scale was horrifying. Judge Da-Un, a senior human magistrate, had been chosen to oversee the proceedings. She understood the weight of the moment. This trial would determine not just Tai Min's fate, but humanity's place in the galaxy. The courtroom was filled with representatives from every major species. Cameras broadcast the proceedings across known space. Everyone wanted to see how humanity would judge its own monster. Prosecutor Jun Seo stood to present the charges. He was a young man who believed deeply in justice, and what Tai Min had done sickened him. The defendant stands accused of genocide, Jun Seo began. The systematic destruction of the Vorthak species. 12 billion sentient beings are dead because of his actions. This is not war. This is not justice. This is the complete extermination of a species. Defense attorney Mi Young had the impossible task of defending Tai Min. She was an experienced lawyer who had handled many difficult cases, but nothing like this. How do you defend genocide? Your Honor, she said when her turn came, my client suffered extreme trauma. He watched his friends die. He survived the destruction of a medical ship that was protected under galactic law. The Vorthak Empire committed the first crime. That does not justify what he did, Jun Seo replied. Nothing justifies the murder of an entire species. The trial lasted for weeks. Witnesses came from across the galaxy to testify. Dr. Sunmi spoke about Tai Min's mental state after the attack. Admiral Kyung-ho defended the military's decision to support the project. Survivors from the few remaining Vorthak told their stories of loss and horror. Victim Representative Hyan Wu was one of the few Vorthak who had survived the cascade. He was young, with minimal cybernetic implants, and he spoke for his dead people. "I lost my parents, my siblings, my friends," he said through the translator. "They died in agony as their own technology turned against them. But I do not seek revenge. I seek understanding. Why did you choose to destroy us all instead of just stopping our leaders?" Taemin heard every word of testimony, but his face showed no emotion. He sat quietly, watching the proceedings as if they were about someone else. When it was time for him to speak, he stood slowly and faced the court. "I am guilty," he said simply. "I built a weapon that killed 12 billion people. I activated it knowing exactly what would happen. I do not regret destroying the Vorthak Empire." The courtroom fell silent. Even his defense attorney looked shocked. "Do you understand the gravity of what you did?" Judge Da-un asked. "Yes. I ended a war. I stopped an empire that attacked medical ships and murdered innocent people. I showed the galaxy what happens when humanity is pushed too far." "You committed genocide." "I committed justice. The Vorthak chose their path when they attacked the Serenity. They wanted to show that kindness was weakness. I showed them that human strength has no limits." Prosecutor Jun Seo was angry. "You speak of justice, but you killed children who had nothing to do with that attack. You murdered innocents." "They murdered our innocents first," Taemin replied, coldly. "Dr. Jihai was innocent. Nurse Do-yoon was innocent. The patients on our ship were innocent. Where was justice for them?" The trial revealed the complexity of the situation. The Vorthak Empire had been brutal and aggressive. They had attacked a clearly marked medical ship in violation of galactic law. They had killed healers and patients to make a political point. But Taemin's response had been so extreme, so complete, that it horrified even those who hated the Vorthak. The Galactic Council met while the trial continued. They faced an impossible decision. Humanity had shown they could destroy any species that opposed them, but they had also shown they would only use such power when pushed to the absolute limit. "We cannot trust them," said the Zentaran representative. "Today it was the Vorthak. Tomorrow it could be any of us." "The Vorthak attacked their medical ship," replied the Altarian delegate. "Perhaps we should learn from their mistake rather than fear human retaliation. Some species wanted humanity, expelled from the council. Others argued that keeping them close was the only way to monitor their dangerous capabilities. Fear and pragmatism warred with moral outrage. After 6 weeks of testimony, Judge Da-un delivered the verdict. "The defendant is guilty of genocide," she announced. "He deliberately created and used a weapon designed to exterminate an entire species. However, the court acknowledges the extreme provocation that led to his actions." She paused, looking at Taemin. "The attack on the UHMS Serenity was a war crime of the highest order. It violated every principle of civilized warfare, but your response was equally criminal. The sentence is life imprisonment without possibility of release. However, the defendant will be required to use his considerable abilities to help repair the damage he has caused. He will work under constant supervision to develop technologies that can help the surviving Vorthak and other species affected by this tragedy." Taemin accepted the sentence without emotion. He would spend the rest of his life as a prisoner, his brilliant mind enslaved to undo what it had created. 5 years after the trial, the galaxy had adapted to its new reality. Humanity remained part of the Galactic Council, but they were watched carefully. No one wanted to provoke them, but no one trusted them either. The few thousand surviving Vorthak lived in refugee camps, slowly dying out as their culture and knowledge faded. Some tried to rebuild, but without their biomechanical technology, they were lost. A memorial station was built where the UHMS Serenity had been destroyed. It served as a hospital for veterans of all species, treating the physical and mental wounds of war. Dr. Hyojin's daughter, now grown and trained as a counselor, worked there. She sometimes visited Taemin in his prison laboratory. He spent his days designing medical equipment and rehabilitation technology for war survivors. It was his penance, using his genius to heal instead of harm. "Do you ever regret what you did?" she asked during one visit. Taemin looked up from his work. His hair was gray now, his face lined with years of solitary labor. "I regret that it was necessary." "It wasn't necessary. There were other ways." "Were there?" "The Vorthak showed no mercy to your mother or her patients. They attacked healers because they enjoyed causing pain. They had to be stopped." You could have stopped their leaders. You didn't have to kill everyone. Tae-min was quiet for a long moment. Perhaps you're right. But I was not thinking clearly then. I was consumed by grief and rage. I wanted them to suffer as I had suffered. And now? Now I work to heal the damage I caused. It will take the rest of my life, and it will never be enough. But it is all I can do. The galaxy had learned several lessons from the tragedy of the Serenity and the destruction of the Vorthak Empire. They learned that attacking medical ships was not just a war crime, it was potentially an act of species suicide. They learned that humanity's capacity for compassion was matched only by their capacity for terrible vengeance. Most importantly, they learned that mercy ignored could become retribution beyond imagination. The stars still burned in the darkness, but they seemed colder now. The galaxy remembered the hospital ship that had tried to heal the wounded, and the brilliant engineer, who had made an empire burn in response. It was a lesson written in the ashes of 12 billion lives. Humanity was no longer seen as the gentle healers who ran medical ships through war zones. They were the species that had committed genocide with mathematical precision. They were respected, feared, but never again trusted. In his prison laboratory, Tae-min continued his work. Each device he built, each life his technology saved was a small payment on an unpayable debt. He had saved humanity from the Vorthak threat, but the cost had been his soul and his species' innocence. The young engineer who had once built machines to heal had become the architect of extinction. The galaxy would never forget either version of him, and in the memorial station where the Serenity had died, the work of healing continued. It was a reminder that even in a galaxy that had learned to fear human vengeance, there were still those who chose to heal rather than harm. The choice between mercy and revenge remained, as it always had, in the hands of each individual. The stars watched and waited to see which path humanity would choose next time they were tested. The weight of stars was heavy, but hope remained alive in the darkness.